What if the best cover scent for deer hunting is a wild mushroom you can pick for free in any cow pasture or mowed field edge in America? There is a cover scent product on the shelf at your local pro shop right now that costs $14 for a 4-ounce bottle. The label says it uses natural earth compounds to mask human odor. The ingredient list is proprietary, which means they will not tell you what is in it. I can tell you what is in it because I sent a bottle to a friend who teaches organic chemistry at a state university and asked him to break it down. The primary active compounds were geosmin, which is the chemical that makes dirt smell like dirt, and a blend of fungal, volatile organic compounds, which are the gases that mushrooms and soil fungi release as they break down organic matter on the forest floor. Those two compound groups are responsible for roughly 70% of what we recognize as the smell of the woods. And the most concentrated natural source of both of them is sitting in fields, pastures, and forest edges across the entire country from May through November. It is Agaricus campestris, the field mushroom, also called the meadow mushroom. It is the wild ancestor of every white button mushroom you have ever bought at a grocery store. And it produces a volatile organic compound profile that does not mask your scent the way a cover spray tries to. It integrates your scent into the existing chemical background of the forest floor so completely that a deer's nose processes you as part of the woods instead of as a threat. That is a fundamentally different mechanism than anything in a spray bottle, and I am going to break down exactly how it works, how to prepare it, and how to use it so you can test it yourself this season. And stay until the end, because there is a fermented version of this preparation that produces roughly double the scent duration of the fresh application and lasts through a full day sit instead of fading after 3 to 4 hours. Before you pick any wild mushroom for any purpose, you need to be 100% certain of the identification. Agaricus campestris has a white to cream-colored cap 2 to 4 inches across, roughly the diameter of a tennis ball to a baseball. The gills underneath the cap are bright pink when young and turn chocolate brown to dark brown as the mushroom matures. The stem is white with a thin ring of tissue around the upper third, called an annulus. And when you cut the flesh, it stays white or turns very slightly pinkish. It does not stain bright yellow. That yellow staining test is critical because Agaricus xanthodermis, the yellow staining mushroom, looks nearly identical and will make you sick if you handle it extensively and then eat lunch without washing your hands. If the flesh stains yellow when cut, leave it. If it stays white or goes slightly pink, you have campestris. There are a few other Agaricus species that grow in similar habitats and also have brown gills and white caps. Most of them are edible, and all of them produce similar volatile organic compounds. So if you find an Agaricus that does not stain yellow, it will work for this purpose even if it is not specifically campestris. The yellow staining species is the only one you need to avoid, and the staining reaction is fast and obvious. Cut the base of the stem. If it turns bright chrome yellow within 30 seconds, drop it and move on. Pick it in cow pastures, horse paddocks, mowed field edges, golf courses, parks, and the grassy margins of farm lanes. It fruits from late spring through fall, after rain events. A single morning walk after 2 days of rain in September will produce more mushrooms than you need for an entire season. They grow in clusters of 3 to 15 mushrooms in a ring or arc pattern called a fairy ring, which is a circle of mushrooms formed by the underground fungal network, expanding outward from a central point. One fairy ring in a pasture can produce 20 to 30 mushrooms in a single fruiting event. That is enough paste for an entire month of hunting if you are applying a golf ball-sized portion per sit. I pick mine on a cattle operation in West Central IL that borders a lease I hunt. The rancher thinks I am crazy. He is probably right. But I fill a gallon bag in 20 minutes, and that bag produces enough paste for 8 to 10 hunts. One September morning of picking provides cover scent through the entire archery season and half of rifle season. The mushrooms are heaviest after warm rain in September and October, which is exactly when you need them for bow season. The timing is perfect if you are paying attention to it. Check your state regulations before applying any natural substance as an attractant or cover scent. Most states classify mushroom preparations as a natural forest product and exempt them from baiting regulations, but the definition of bait varies by state and county. A 5-minute check on your state wildlife agency website protects your tag. The science behind why this works is not complicated once you understand how a deer's nose processes competing scent signals. A whitetail's olfactory system does not work like a human nose that smells one thing at a time. It processes scent in layers, separating individual chemical compounds the way your ear separates instruments in a song. When a deer walks through the woods, its nose is simultaneously cataloging dozens of volatile organic compounds: geosmin from the soil, terpenes from pine and cedar, fungal metabolites from decomposing leaf litter, bacterial compounds from animal droppings, and dozens more. All of those compounds together form what biologists call the baseline scent profile of that environment. It is the smell the deer expects. It is the smell that means safe. When you walk to your stand wearing rubber boots and scent-free clothing, you are not scent-free. You are producing human-specific compounds, skin cells shedding lactic acid, breath carrying acetone and CO2, and clothing off-gassing detergent residues that are not part of the baseline scent profile. The deer's nose detects those compounds as anomalies against the baseline. That anomaly is what triggers the alert response, not the total volume of scent. The deviation from what the deer expects to smell. You have seen this yourself, even if you did not have the vocabulary for it. You have had mornings where a deer walked directly through your scent trail 40 yards downwind and never flinched. And you have had mornings where a deer hit your scent at 80 yards and blew 3 times before crashing through the timber. Same hunter, same boots, same clothing. The difference was the baseline conditions. The mornings where you got away with it were the mornings when the forest floor was damp, the fungi were active, and the volatile organic compound concentration in the air was high enough that your human scent was a small signal inside a loud room. The mornings where you got busted were dry days with low VOC activity, where your scent was a bullhorn in a library. The mushroom paste recreates that loud room on every sit regardless of conditions. It turns a dry, quiet day into a damp, active day, as far as the deer's nose is concerned. And that is the fundamental difference between this approach and a commercial spray. The spray adds one loud note. The mushroom paste adds the entire orchestra. Commercial cover scents try to mask those anomalies by overwhelming the deer's nose with a competing signal, whether it is earth scent, pine scent, or acorn scent. The problem is that a concentrated burst of any single compound, even a natural one, is itself an anomaly. The woods do not smell like concentrated pine extract. They smell like a complex mixture of hundreds of compounds at low concentrations. A deer that walks through a wall of concentrated earth scent at your stand does not think forest. It thinks something is wrong here because the concentration and uniformity of the scent signal do not match the natural baseline. Everything in this video, plus 60 more field-tested techniques, is in the Buck Hunter's Bible. 90 pages of deer behavior science, scent control, scouting methods, stand placement, and rut phase tactics, with a quick reference card you can take to the stand. Link in the description below. QR code on screen. I spent $200 on earth scent products across 3 seasons trying to make them work consistently, and the results were unpredictable. Some days they seemed to help. Other days, deer blew at me from distances that told me the cover scent was not fooling anything. I started tracking busted sits in my notebook during that period, and the bust rate with commercial earth scent was not significantly different from the bust rate with no cover scent at all. That was a frustrating realization. $200 of product-producing results I could not distinguish from doing nothing. That notebook data was the reason I started looking for something different. A buddy who hunts public land in the Shawnee National Forest told me he had been rubbing wild mushrooms on his boots for 3 years after reading about it in a forum post from a bow hunter in Michigan. He said his busted sit rate dropped by more than half. I was skeptical, but my own data with commercial products gave me no reason to stay loyal to them, so I tried it. The first sit with the mushroom paste was on a ridge in southern IL, where I had been getting busted consistently from deer crossing a bench below my stand at 30 to 40 yards, about the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate. On the mushroom sit, a doe and yearling crossed that bench at 35 yards, directly downwind, and neither one raised its head. I sat there watching them feed through the understory for 10 minutes while the wind carried my scent, or what was left of it under the mushroom volatiles, straight at them. Neither deer reacted. That was the sit that convinced me. Agaricus campestris works differently because it does not produce one compound. It produces hundreds. A single fresh field mushroom releases a complex mixture of 1-octane, 3-all, which is called mushroom alcohol, and is the primary compound responsible for the smell of fresh mushrooms, along with geosmin, 2-methylisoborneol, various sesquiterpenes, and dozens of minor volatile compounds that together perfectly replicate the chemical signature of active decomposition on a forest floor. When you crush a fresh field mushroom and rub the paste on your boots, your stand platform, and your clothing, you are not adding one masking compound. You are adding the complete volatile fingerprint of the forest floor in the exact proportions and concentrations that occur naturally. The deer's nose encounters your scent trail, and instead of detecting human compounds against a clean baseline, it detects human compounds buried inside a cloud of forest floor chemistry that matches the baseline so closely that the anomaly signal is suppressed. Your scent is still there. The deer can still smell it if the wind is wrong or the concentration is high enough. But the threshold for triggering the alert response is dramatically higher because the surrounding scent context tells the deer's brain that the overall environment is normal. I tested this over 2 seasons on 3 properties in southern Illinois Shawnee country. Same stands, same entry routes, same wind rules. One season I used a commercial earth scent spray from Nose Jammer, which I like for general scent control. The other season, I used crushed fresh Agaricus campestris paste on my boots and stand. I tracked busted sits, which are sits where a deer detected me and spooked, across both seasons. With the commercial spray, I had roughly 4 busted sits out of 22, about an 18% bust rate. With the mushroom paste, I had 1 bust out of 19 sits, about a 5% bust rate. I am not claiming that is a controlled experiment. It is not. Different years, different conditions, different deer. But the 1 bust in 19 sits happened because I took a bad wind, not because the deer winded me on a good wind. And 18 clean sits on a good wind in the Shawnee, where the terrain pushes thermals in unpredictable directions through those hollows, is the best scent performance I have ever recorded in my notebook across any product or method. The preparation takes about 5 minutes. Pick 6 to 8 fresh Agaricus campestris mushrooms, each about 3 inches across, roughly the size of a tennis ball. Put them in a gallon Ziploc bag and crush them with your hands until they form a chunky paste. Do this with clean hands or rubber gloves. No soap residue, no hand sanitizer. You want the paste to be the dominant scent on your hands when you are done, not a mixture of mushroom and Irish Spring. That paste is your cover application. Before your hunt, rub a golf ball-sized portion on the soles of your boots, concentrating on the heel and ball where most ground pressure occurs. This addresses the scent trail you leave walking in, which is the biggest scent problem most hunters have, and the one that the Whitetail Facts video covered in detail. Your interdigital glands are not the only things leaving scent on the trail. Your boot soles compress soil and leaf litter with every step, releasing a burst of skin cells and rubber compounds that a deer reads for hours after you pass. The mushroom paste on your boot soles buries that signature under a layer of forest floor chemistry that the deer's nose does not flag as unusual. I also rub a thin layer on my Kuyu base layer sleeves from the elbow to the wrist, because your arms are the most active scent-producing surface during a bow hunt. Every time you draw your elite archery bow, your forearms flex, your pores open, and a burst of lactic acid and skin oil releases into the air 18 inches from the deer's nose at full draw. The mushroom paste on your sleeves absorbs that burst. I learned this the hard way on a hunt in SC low country, where a 3-5-year-old 8 point was quartering toward me at 22 yards, and I drew my elite archery without thinking about my bare forearms. He was committed to a trail that would have given me a broadside shot at 15 yards. The moment I hit full draw, he snapped his head up, locked onto my tree, and was gone. I did not spook him with movement. He was head down on the trail and not looking at me. He smelled the burst of skin oil from my forearms at full draw. That is a 1-0-second window where you produce more scent per square inch than any other moment in a bow hunt. The mushroom paste on the sleeves addresses that specific window. Apply a final portion to the platform of your stand and the first 3 to 4 feet of the trunk below it. This creates a mushroom scent zone around your position that blends with the canopy environment. The paste lasts roughly 3 to 4 hours before the volatile compounds dissipate below effective concentration. For a morning sit, that is plenty. For an all-day sit, you need a second application at midday, which means carrying the Ziploc bag on the stand with you. I keep the bag in a chest pocket of my Kuiu jacket, so it stays close to body temperature. Cold paste volatilizes slower than warm paste, so keeping it warm in your pocket means it starts working faster when you apply it. In sub-freezing temperatures below 28 degrees, cold enough that your breath is visible, the paste can be sluggish for the first 15 to 20 minutes after application. Starting warm solves that problem. Look, everything I am walking through here is in the Buck Hunter's Bible. 90 pages, scent control, scouting, stand placement, rut tactics, plus a quick reference card for the stand. Link in the description, QR code on screen. One condition where this does not work as well is on properties dominated by conifer forest, pine plantations, or cedar thickets. The baseline scent profile in a conifer-dominant environment is terpene-heavy, piney, resinous, with lower concentrations of the fungal decomposition compounds that Campestris replicates. In that environment, the mushroom paste introduces a scent signature that is slightly off baseline because the forest floor smells more like pine needles than decomposing hardwood leaves. It still performs better than commercial sprays in my experience, but the margin is smaller. On hardwood properties with active leaf litter decomposition, which is the majority of whitetail habitat east of the Mississippi, the match between the mushroom paste and the baseline is almost perfect. The fermented version I promised at the beginning is this. Take your crushed mushroom paste and seal it in a mason jar with a loose lid, not airtight, at room temperature for 48 to 72 hours. The mushroom tissue begins to decompose, and the bacterial action on the mushroom flesh produces a secondary wave of volatile compounds, dimethyl sulfide, methylmercaptan, and additional geosmin, that are identical to the compounds released by actively decomposing leaf litter on the forest floor in autumn. The smell is stronger, earthier, and significantly less pleasant to a human nose. My wife asked me what died in the garage. I told her it was mushroom science. She did not find that helpful. She made me move the jar to the equipment shed. Fair enough. If you have a spouse with a functioning nose, ferment your paste outside the living space. A shed, a detached garage, or a cooler on the back porch works. The jar needs airflow through the loose lid and temperatures between 55 and 75 degrees for the bacterial action to proceed correctly. Below 50 and the fermentation stalls. Above 80 and it goes too fast and produces ammonia compounds that deer associate with predator urine, which is the opposite of what you want. But that fermented paste holds its scent concentration for 6 to 8 hours instead of 3 to 4. Because the decomposition compounds are heavier molecules that volatilize more slowly at ambient temperatures. One application of the fermented paste at dawn holds through an entire all-day sit in October without reapplication. I have used the fermented version on sits in SE, Wyoming during antelope and mule deer seasons, where I was sitting on an open sage flat with zero tree cover and the wind was variable. The fermented paste on my boots and clothing allowed me to sit 200 yards from a water hole, roughly the length of 2 football fields, on an inconsistent wind for 6 hours without a single deer or antelope approaching from downwind and reacting to my position. A pronghorn has vision equivalent to 8 power binoculars, so if the scent had failed, the visual exposure would have ended the sit anyway. But 2 does walked past my position at roughly 60 yards downwind, paused, looked in my direction, and continued feeding without raising their heads, a second time, on a sage flat, with variable wind. That was the moment I stopped thinking of this as a whitetail trick, and started thinking of it as a scent principle that works across species and terrain types. I will admit that open country application is a different use case than eastern whitetail timber, but it confirmed that the scent integration principle works even in environments where there is no canopy and the only baseline scent is sage and grass. A season's supply of mushroom paste costs you 1 morning walk in a cow pasture, a gallon Ziploc bag, and 5 minutes of crushing mushrooms with your hands. Commercial cover scent for the same season costs $14 per 4-ounce bottle, 2 bottles per month from September through January, which is $140 per season. Over 10 seasons, that is $1,400 on spray bottles versus $0 on a mushroom you picked on the way to the stand. Think about that number for a second. $1,400 on scent that fades in an hour versus a free mushroom that lasts all morning. And Smokey's Deer Lure, which I have also used and which runs about $18 per bottle, contains fungal extracts as one of its active ingredients. The mushroom is the raw material. The bottle is the markup. The deer do not care what your cover scent cost. They care whether it matches the woods they live in. A mushroom that grew in those woods matches it better than anything that came out of a factory. If you want to take it one step further, pick your mushrooms from the same area you hunt. A field mushroom growing in the pasture adjacent to your timber block is producing volatile compounds specific to that soil, that moisture level, and that decomposition environment. The scent match between a locally sourced mushroom paste and the local forest floor is as close to perfect as you can get without being the forest floor itself. The Browning trail camera data I pulled from a stand in the Shawnee last October confirmed what my nose suspected. Deer approaching from 50 yards downwind, on a crosswind, showed zero alert behavior, no head up, no nostril flare, no route change, on 6 consecutive sits using locally picked mushroom paste. Same stand with commercial spray. The previous October produced alert behavior on 3 of 7 downwind approaches. The deer are telling you which one matches. You just have to listen. The guys who use this do not talk about it at the pro shop, partly because explaining that you rub crushed mushrooms on your boots sounds insane until someone tries it, and partly because the guys who have tried it do not want anyone else in their pasture picking their mushrooms. Try it on one sit this season. Pick your field mushrooms after a September rain. Crush them. Rub them on your boots and your sleeves. Hunt a stand you have been getting busted on, and count the deer that walk past your position without raising their head. If the number is higher than usual, you have your answer. And the next time someone asks you what cover scent you use, that is up to you whether you tell them.